there a way to get
for,
those numbers?
and now we're doing 4 more months of treatment, and that hopefully will do it.
Okay, gotta get this back where it goes.
Joe Smith called me.
Did he? Oh, he.
How are you?
Awesome.
You're good.
Do you want us to? Do you want us to go ahead and start? Mike, it's
Lemon,
time to
maybe?
start.
Before Mike, and,
Are we okay?
yeah, so I'll just start it and sit it here if I can get it going, if not, I'll just use the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good to go. But yeah, Joe sent in a really nice text and had me send it out to all the family.
Yeah, he did. After we talked, he sent me, he says, you know, there was no funner group to be with. When you got us together with Ron and John Good.
Oh, yeah.
You ready to start? We'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission for September 27th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to begin with an opening prayer by Commissioner Marchbanks, and then we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Callis.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee, the beginning of this Planning Commission meeting, and we give thee thanks for all our many blessings. We thank thee for the blessing we have of living in this free country and this beautiful city of Lindon. Father in heaven, we pray that we will carry out the business that we have to deal with this evening, and that we will do those things in accordance with our city ordinances. Again, we thank thee for those that watch over and protect us, military and police, and we say these things humbly in Jesus' name, amen.
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 Would the audience please arise and take the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome to you citizens that have just come in. Okay, we're going to begin this evening with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Jared Showers.
Here.
Rob Callis.
here.
Stephen Johnson.
Here.
Scott Thompson. Okay, and Renee Tribe. Okay, neither one of them have come yet. Okay. We're going to, we have received the minutes from September 13th, 2022, and have had a chance, commissioners have had a chance to review those. Are there any changes or corrections? I went through those really carefully and I didn't see any.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, motion, we have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay, the next item on our agenda, this would be for any items of any public that are here to make comment. This would be for items that are not already on the agenda for this evening. Either one of you here for that? Okay. The next item on our agenda is an amended site plan. This is for Songbird Cove, 550 North State. And our presenting staff is Michael Florence. Our applicant is Sega Homes. Would you like to come up to the front? And is it Spencer? Yeah. Yeah, Spencer Corbridge. Okay, well, Mike, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's great to be here with you this evening. So Sago Homes has made an application to petition the Planning Commission for a change in materials for the perimeter fence that is required to be installed around the development. As a reminder, here's the site plan for the project. The areas in red are the areas where the perimeter fence is required to be installed. I just want to clarify, when the public notice went out, the line showed across the road here. So we had a few people confused that 570 was going to be closed. It's not going to be closed. That was just a slip up on the notice. You can see in red where that fence will be installed. And so this evening, Sago Homes is petitioning the Planning Commission to install a Trex fencing over the required masonry or concrete fence. And so what the ordinance says that at a minimum, a 7-foot masonry or concrete perimeter fence shall be required as a buffer when abutting single-family residential or commercial uses. The Planning Commission may allow alternative materials and location and placement of perimeter fencing. Any fence erected around or within the development shall comply with the following section involving fence standards. And so this evening, Sago Homes has put together a presentation. You also have that presentation in your staff report. So with that, I'll let Spencer go through it.
Okay. All right, thank you, Commissioners. Again, my name is Spencer Corbridge. I'm with Sago Homes. Representing Sago Homes today, but just wanted to kind of talk through what we're proposing. We're very excited about this project. I've grown up here in Lindon, and we're very excited to be building here in this area. Looking through the ordinance, we provided a couple of pictures, maybe the next slide down, showing some of the precast walls. These are precast concrete walls that are, these particular photos were taken of a project that's just behind the Lindon Nursery. And so this is these are what the precast walls look like. It's a little bit more of an industrial look. If we go down to the next slide, the fencing material that we're proposing is Trex fencing. And a couple of reasons why we think this is a superior product. It's just because it has a 25-year warranty. It doesn't require any maintenance, such as staining or anything like that. It's made from renewable materials. It's recycled plastics and sawdust. Part of our company slogan is Sago Homes, healthy, green, and smart. So this fits into kind of what we like to do, or materials that we'd like to use. We just kind of feel that it's a better look. Along with this, we plan on using Trex fencing to separate the yards of our townhomes and single-family homes within the project. So this would also allow us to have more of a uniform look between the fencing between our homes and also the fencing on the outside perimeter of the project. So we feel this is a superior product. Let's see here. In addition, if we could go to the next slide, one of the things that we want to be the best neighbor that we can to all the neighbors that are near us. What's on the property line right now is actually a wire fence. In certain areas, it's standing up and it's working well as a fence. In other areas, it's kind of falling apart a little bit. With precast fencing, what's required is there would need to be, heavy equipment coming in to auger out holes, pour concrete footings, and then a crane would be needed to install the panels together. And so typically when we've done precast fencing in the past, we choose to do that 1 foot into our property line to avoid any damage on a neighboring property or anything like that. And again, in the process, it requires heavy equipment to go ahead and install that. In doing that, we wouldn't want to be disturbing the existing fence, pulling out any fence poles or anything like that for fear of damaging landscaping, sprinklers, things like that. And again, it's because they have the equipment. In contrast with the Trex fencing, this is a product installed much more so by hand. So you'd be able to dig holes for the footings. It'd still be strong concrete holding up the fence, but it's done much more so by hand. And so there's less of a worry about damaging the neighboring landscaping or anything like that. Would be much more willing as well to remove the existing fence and replace it with this and match the fence line much better. So for all of these reasons, we feel like this is a superior product for our site. And our ultimate goal is just to be a good neighbor, build a good project here in Lindon, and be proud of what we do. So that's why we feel like we'd like to install the Trex fencing.
You have questions for Mr. Corbridge?
So it has nothing to do with price, huh?
It is, yeah, it is a little bit more affordable. Part of the kind of question is the precast fencing is very expensive, and so it kind of comes down to doing an affordable precast fence or doing the best Trex fence that we can, and this allows us more leeway to do a better job.
So, a little bit taken back that we approved the project, we represented it to the community, they were told what was gonna do, and we approved it based on that, and now we're coming back acting to change that. How do you think that the neighbors are gonna feel about not getting what they thought they were gonna get?
It's a great question. Yeah, we've reached out to all the neighbors along the bordering properties, sent them an email asking to voice their support or concern about this. We got one response back against it, but several who are for it. We do feel like this is a product that will enhance the community. We really do feel like this is superior to just the precast fence. But again, we're open to what the neighbors would like. We ultimately want to be a good neighbor and build the best product.
It is a good product, and it looks nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's superior to a concrete fence, as far
Okay.
as security and,
Longevity.
Can I have you just speak in your microphone?
sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure it's superior for security and durability and even appearance. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I think this puts me in a little awkward position that it's in our ordinance. We've required a lot of other people to follow it. Now we're being asked to go away from it, making it.
And your ordinance allows that, and so because of that,
does.
you know, we sent out notices to everybody that would have received notice of the development. We sent out notices for this amended site plan. To speak a little bit more from what Spencer said, Sago Homes did send out notices to those that were abutting the property with the fence, and asked them to send notice or send their comments to the Community Development Department. We received one favorable, and then two not favorable, 2 or 3 not favorable. Then I received 2 more today that were not favorable of it.
Okay.
Some of those did not border this; they were within the 800 foot parameter.
Yeah.
So.
If I might add as well, one question that we have for the precast fencing is it says that it should be 7 feet. From all the manufacturers that we've spoken with, there's not a 7-foot option. It's either 6 foot or 8 foot. Yeah, and so that's one thing that we'd request if we do the precast wall, if that would be an option to do 6 foot, something that's more regular, wouldn't need to be custom made and therefore cost substantially more.
The way the ordinance written, could we make that exception?
I don't think so. Let me pull it up really quick. I believe it requires an ordinance amendment. And I did a little bit of research on that, and yeah, a lot more, there's 2 companies I found that will do the 7 foot, but it's a lot more expensive because it is a specialty order. I did look at the surrounding cities. Orem is a 7 foot. It's almost like, I don't know if we stole their ordinance or they stole ours, but we both say 7 foot with almost the exact same language. PG is 8 foot, Provo is 6 foot, American Fork is 6 foot. And that's when commercial is adjacent to residential.
If we agreed to the Trex, would it be a 6 foot or a 7 foot or 8 foot?
Yeah, Trex allows us to do 7 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let other planning commissioners make comments, and then I do, even though this isn't a public hearing, we do have some public here, and we do welcome your comments. So are there other planning commissioners that have questions?
I have some.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm like Rob, I feel like without at least a majority of the perimeter neighbors, it would be perceived as kind of a bait and switch, because so much was said during the thing, and yet I can see, that, you know, I might personally like it better than a 7-foot concrete wall. But I'm not backing up to it, and therefore I don't know that my opinion necessarily, but I mean, cause I'm sure, and Trex is a good product, it's been around a long time, it's not like it's an experiment or anything, but I guess, and I don't care about people that are 800 feet away either, but I'm very concerned about those that border the, you know, the subdivision. That it has no bearing on anybody that's not backed up to it, as far as I'm concerned.
And I guess I feel the same way, you know, about the ordinance is the ordinance, and I think if all or almost all of the residents were in favor of it,
Yeah.
I would be fine with it, but I agree, I have a hard time changing an ordinance when the residents aren't in favor of it.
Well, and we need to consider that it's something that, unless there were some extreme extenuating circumstances, we've not got away from the concrete, you know, masonry fence in the past. But again, I'd be cool with it if the majority of the neighbors were.
Right.
And I don't think we need to really ask the church, they don't care, they put chain link in, so. But as far as the residential neighbors go,
Right.
you know.
Could we hear from some of you, and if you would state your name and.
Commissioner Call, before we go to the residents, can I make one comment real quick?
Sure.
Just about that 6-foot requirement. I know the developer would be interested in doing 6 foot over 7 foot. But that would take an ordinance amendment. It does say on the language right
7
here,
foot or more.
a minimum 7-foot masonry or concrete perimeter fence shall be required as a buffer. So we've got that shall language in there. Is that something, you know, maybe as we talk to the residents, I don't know if that's something the commission would want to consider to do 6 or 8. I don't know if we want to look at a different height, and I don't know if the developer would want to wait that long to do a 6, so.
You know, I wouldn't mind us changing the ordinance to be 8 foot.
Or minimum 6, how would you feel
Or
about that?
whatever, but as far as, again, to me, it's kind of a bait and switch to those backing up to it. Even going from 7 to 6, to me, it's kind of the same thing of going from masonry to, and again, I'd probably be fine with it, but you know, I'm not backing up to it. so.
I personally wouldn't mind addressing the ordinance for the future and changing that to 6. 6 is still a good fence.
Yeah,
7 is awkward for finding it. 8 becomes pretty tall,
Yeah.
but maybe going forward, but not backwards.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you could give your name, and if you have.
You need to come up here.
Yeah, that would be better, just
Speak into the
because then
microphone.
those who are online can hear you better. Okay?
My name is Shawnee Keith, and I live at 355 West, 600 North, and I'm like right in the middle of the development. So I just have a quick question. Is there a difference between masonry and concrete fence? Because at the beginning, going through all these meetings, I thought it was to be a masonry fence. So in my understanding, I thought that was a thicker fence, but that's why I'm asking, what's the difference? Or if there is a difference?
The reason it says masonry is it can be out of block.
Okay, that's my
That
question.
you typically see in St. George or other
Yeah.
places like that, so, but it can be one or the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my question, because that's kind of what I had envisioned. So I think we're both kind of leaning a little bit more towards the concrete, but I'm not totally 100% sure, because I do have some other questions that kind of need to be answered, that I have concerns about the whole fence area. So the one big thing for me is currently that wire fence is on the property line. And so my understanding that a new fence would need to be on the property line because it's separating. So if they leave that fence there, and then, because I will take that fence down regardless. And if he's got a foot, my vinyl fence ends. So I'm gonna have a foot of no fence unless I put something there. And then I don't want a foot of that property on my property. So those are my concerns. And then, just I like the look of the solid surface, but the solid surfaces that I have got around and looked at are not like the concrete ones. That took me by surprise when he sent me that. I thought they were more of like the masonry. Like I took a few pictures as I was driving around today. Like there's one by the Maverick that's bordering up to that little condo development behind the Maverick in PG that looks like it's rock, but it's not. And there's another one on 800 North. There's a new development going in there that I think that might even be, I don't even think that's masonry. I had my son get out because it was kind of during rush hour, and he didn't think it was concrete, but just something more of that look. I didn't necessarily love that look of that concrete.
That concrete, usually, most of the ones you'll see have been painted to look
Okay.
like stone or
Okay,
whatever.
because that just took me by surprise. I was like, because I have plans of doing things for whatever wall it is, but that started off pretty bad. So, and then I also, so that fence, if they leave that fence there, they came in and they took those trees out, which was awesome. But I have 2 poplar trees that have grown in that fence. That is kind of a fun little issue I have to take care of those. And the poplars are still growing up all over on their side. I know they did come through and take those out a couple times, but they keep growing back up. And so I think the big question is leaving that wire fence, the reason for that, because a lot of people I've talked to, my neighbors, they're not concerned about sprinklers or landscape. Like I'm not at all. I'm like, go for it, because I love,
So
gotta start over
let me ask you
anyways.
a question. I put in a lot of this fence in developments we've done, and the reason we usually pull it off a foot is because the footing column is 2 feet.
Okay.
So they don't want to get onto your property a foot. Would you care if they did?
They might be close
Drill
to
a
my
hole.
shed, but I've got about 2 feet
Okay.
from my shed to but then I know having neighbors, that could be a problem.
Usually they'll drill a hole and put a sonotube and concrete a foot.
What he said is the way it is. I put a bunch of it in myself as well.
So it's normal to do that?
It is normal.
Okay, so what
to
do people
what he-
do when their fence ends? Do they just add a fence? A little section
So-
there?
So I guess, yeah, most of you have fenced yards already, right?
Yeah.
So there's gonna create a foot no man's land?
Yeah.
Is that's what we're worried about, and who's
Yeah.
gonna maintain and take care of that foot of no man's land? I mean, technically, it'll be the development property, but that could become a weed or mess, I guess, is a problem possibly.
Yes.
Because for the look, right, I guess if you're not gonna take down your vinyl or whatever fence you have, your backyard won't change regardless of, I guess, of what they put. It's more of a security feature. Is that,
Yes.
am I thinking most of
Yes,
them there
yeah,
already
definitely.
have
And-
the little fence there's not the fence you actually use for your backyard or for
Correct.
anything?
That's just, we just left it there because when we moved in, it was there and we liked looking at the horses, so we left it open. We never added something. And talking about changing it from 7 foot to 6 foot, all those meetings that we went to, it's always been 7 feet. That was one of the big, like, for us to agree that we want a 7-foot fence. One of the reasons for that is I'm up a little bit higher. And so I want to have a little bit more of a barrier
Yeah.
in between. And I want it to be a barrier from a different look from what they're doing, for their area and then my area. That's why I kind of don't love the Trex, that it's going to match all of their stuff, because I would like it to be a barrier between their development and our neighborhood.
A
But
question,
those are all aesthetic. I mean, it's not,
yeah, a question
end of
on
the
that,
world.
because I believe the ordinance says a minimum of 7. So they could go to 8, I'm assuming. Is that right, Mike? So would you be opposed to an 8-foot fence?
I would not be opposed. But I do
I mean,
know,
It might be cheaper for them to actually get 8 than 7, I don't know,
Maybe.
if they,
No, well, no, my husband, I'm Cheryl Gurney,
Okay.
367 West,
Okay.
600 North. So my husband's 6'4". I mean, we definitely don't want a fence where people can look over the fence. Do you know what I mean? That kind of seems like a no-brainer. Plus, you know, it really feels like a bait and switch. We've been here to these meetings for 2.5 years, you know. And
We're like, "Hello."
it's just, it's hard, you know, it's hard having this development in our backyard, and we're trying, like he said, we're trying to be good neighbors. But to be honest with you, it's been tough to work with them. Like these poplar trees, they have ruined my patio, they've ruined my cement curbing. She called, and it was, you have to worry about it. I mean, it's ruined our backyards. And
But the poplar trees were there
exactly.
for a long
Yes,
time
but
ago.
the
That isn't
arborist-
something
but when you
they-
cut them off,
Yeah.
So
they're
the
gonna
arborist
continue growing.
I talked to said before, all that energy was going to the tree. Now there's no tall tree. It's all going to those roots. I had hundreds and hundreds throughout our yard. It's just pulled up all our pavers, our cement curbing. And I sent an email and I just says, you know, even if you don't do it for us, you should do it for you. Get those out because they're gonna go into his development as well. They're horrid. They're just horrid. And it was not favorable at all, his response. And, you know, so it's just been hard. And then another concern that I wanna know is that 7 foot, because right now, before it was, the property level was equal, right? Well, they've done a lot of stuff with the machines. We wanna make sure that 7, 8 feet is from the level it was before. We don't want, okay, we put in a 7, 8 foot fence, but they've taken it down on their side and it ends up being a 5. That's a real concern for us.
And I
think
know
there
they still
is
have a
some-
lot going on, so it might
Yeah.
build back up, but for mine,
We just
it's
wanna
almost
make
2
sure.
feet lower now where it
Yeah.
used to be. And I'm sure they're still doing lots of stuff, so it's probably brought back up, so, yeah, so that's just a concern.
But, Mike, isn't there some protection on that?
Okay.
Okay.
As far as,
but it's from their side, right?
How many sets in?
I'll pull up the ordinance, give me a second.
just a second, and he'll tell you,
Okay.
how that works.
But I mean, there's just gonna be a lot of people over there, you know, and if the fence is at 6, I don't know. Definitely
He
not
was
in
gonna
favor of
address
that.
this one issue.
I'm all about having new
And the
neighbors, I
6,
think
the
it's
6
great.
feet, you need to understand, that's not even an option unless we change the ordinance.
The way it's written right now, it's gotta be 7 foot or
Okay.
more,
and I don't think,
so.
even if we change the ordinance, I don't think it affects this, because it's
Yeah.
the application is before the change, so.
Okay.
I have one question while he's looking that up for Mr. Corbridge. Those pictures of the solid surface or the precast fence, those were taken of the, back behind the Lindon Nursery, that development. But I do know that we required the more decorative fencing. It seemed like next to the residential, and then
None
the
of,
one
I don't
that,
think any of these have been recently installed, Sharon.
No, the ones on the staff report here,
aren't those from back behind there?
so.
They are, I drove over there the other day.
So
They're
these
there.
are the fencing, this top fence here, that was installed when you enter the development.
Right.
And this is installed between the townhomes, the future townhomes and the existing residents.
That's new.
That
Okay.
is. And so we
The
don't,
quality of that is.
I go with the tracks.
we don't have we don't have a standard, if,
Okay.
looking at your staff report here, I mean, the
I didn't
city.
know they made that exposed aggregate one anymore,
It
did
just
you?
seemed like there was a different type that was next to the residence, other than just the separation between.
There is between, they required the wrought iron between back of the nursery storage area, or the decorative, I can't remember which one, I think it was the decorative. They required it between the storage area and the townhomes.
Okay,
But the others, the ordinance just says, it just says it's gotta be concrete or masonry.
okay.
You know, I wasn't impressed with that fence either, but there wasn't anything I could do. It looks
Okay.
something like you'd see on the side of the freeway, but.
Okay. Is there anything else, or we may ask for other residents'
So I
comments?
do have a question. So if we do the trucks, and I do know that you said if we do the trucks, you will take that fence out?
Yeah.
So does that mean you'll put it right where that truck's fence, or, oh my gosh, where the wire fence is
Yeah.
currently?
Again, just there's hesitancy, there's the footings are 2 feet, so they need to have some space back. There's also hesitancy about, in removing the posts from the ground, what that might do to landscaping and sprinklers.
I think we could just cut those off.
Just cut them flush.
Because
So-
that's what we were thinking, because we were talking if
So, Mrs.
we do
Keith,
go the other,
So you need to make your comments to
Yeah,
the
make your
commission.
comments to the commission.
And
Oh,
so
I'm
this
sorry.
isn't a,
That's okay.
sorry.
And you can discuss this with the developer later.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So what were you saying? You were hoping that that could just be cut off, or?
That we were discussing that if this was going to go to the masonry, to the cement one, that we would take that fence away regardless, and that we would just get a tool and just cut those off flush and then just pull those out. And that will be fun, we could do it. So just so we wouldn't dig those up, we would just cut them off. So that would be fine with us.
Okay,
And I know that the Rollies also agree, and they do not agree with the cement, or so the Rollies did not like the Trex fence and the Dagleys. They're the rentals. The house next to me that rents their house out.
okay.
But the owner.
Well,
Yeah, the owner.
well,
It wasn't the
appreciate those
rentals.
comments. and-
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in, and we
Thank you.
certainly listen.
And
to
again,
what
my
you
big
have to say.
concern is that 12 inches of no man's land, so
Okay,
there you go.
thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Okay, and I think we know who you are, but you can go ahead and give your names.
You've heard a lot from me, not a lot from Kelly.
Kelly and Amy Alvord, we're on 570 North, we're at the end of the street. We're in favor of the Trex fencing, one, just the look. We like that as well as the option. I'm glad it's been addressed, we don't want 6 feet, it needs to be at least 7 or above, for the reasons that's already been stated. But for what, what was shown, the quality of that masonry, that's not what we want.
That look?
No, not at all.
Which
But-
one? The bottom one?
No,
Yeah.
that either of those is not what we had
The
pictured.
one unfair thing about this, you're seeing a naked concrete, you're not seeing the painted version.
Or all
They
landscape.
paint all
too.
those stones different colors.
Okay. But at the same time, the Trex fencing, we've seen it, we actually, I prefer the look of it, next to my property. And also just the maintenance as well as probably the longevity of it is probably better than this for us as well.
And this fencing goes along the west side of our property, where everybody else, most of the rest of the neighbors goes on the back end. This is on the side of our house, you know, the property is on the side of our house, and it will be a lot higher than because we sit higher than the current lot, and so.
So we don't have the issue that 1 foot of no man's land of what that would cause. That's not something that we need to deal with. And so that's not a thing we're having to have a concern with either.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Chaz from Low Book Sales.
Okay,
Our expectation was a masonry type wall between like cinder block, nice tan or darker brown color. That would be at least 7 foot high. That would be nice and sturdy separation. I definitely like the Trek better than the two wonderful pictures of the slab version. So that wouldn't be our preference. I don't think anybody here wants the slab put in, but our vote is for a masonry fence like we were kind of expected. That's what I'd always envisioned was gonna be there.
Okay, and the masonry, I mean, like some of the others have said, would have a different look than those look like.
Yeah,
You know, those are pretty
yeah. So I'd rather
raw.
a masonry, like the cinder block, a nice wall that's, as you mentioned, like you see in St. George and other places around. Or, you know, I'd rather to do Trek than the slabs. So I'm not sure, I haven't priced out those kind of fences. I don't know what, a masonry wall is probably the most expensive
I'm sure it is.
route to go. So, that's our input.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and sir, did you have anything?
There was nothing good on TV, so I decided to come.
Glad you're here.
Which one do you like best?
Okay, well, we'll bring the discussion back up to the commission and as far as what your thoughts are.
Well, personally, I'm not sure that these pictures of the concrete fence do masonry justice. Masonry walls are really good looking, and these do not look very good. I mean, they're not finished.
I think the bottom one is.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the top one.
I doubt that the top one is, and if you drive around to most of your higher-end communities, they'll have this, and they'll have them painted with different colors. And they're very attractive. So, for what it's worth, masonry, the block thing, they do have more maintenance. They pop up, the caps pop off, and they come apart. Where this precast concrete won't do that, but.
Well, that's why you typically see the block in St. George, where
Yeah.
the climate's
Where
more.
you don't have freezing and thawing. But I don't know where in the world he got that.
That aggregate,
Yeah.
exposed aggregate stuff. I haven't seen that for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I can speak,
Go ahead, sir.
but for future, I mean, this is already, but for future, there would be a great, if there's something you could put in ordinance to protect, because I feel bad for those neighbors, that's what they're doing, that's what they get to do.
Yeah, I'm feeling,
1980s came
working the ordinance over a little bit myself, just to.
Just to
make
be
sure.
more specific.
Yeah,
or
more
something.
specific if they go the masonry route.
Okay, Jared, do you have any comments?
I'm with on the concrete fence. I like the Trex product. I see that all over in residential applications. I do see that posts leaning and slats missing, and I mean, even as it's a good product, obviously it holds up to weather, but I don't think it's gonna hold up as well as a concrete
No.
precast fence. So I think for that reason, that's why I would stick with the concrete.
And Steve?
Yeah, I wish I had a picture of what concrete they were gonna put, or, you know, I wish we could, but, you know, and that, a flaw maybe we have in the ordinance that we need to fix, so that we have a little more teeth in that, but I guess it hasn't changed my point of view. I really think in our position, we can't do a bait and switch, as much as, if I would choose one or the other. And I would hope that the developer would try to put something that would look nice for both sides. I mean, I think this bottom picture here, they wouldn't want that in their development. I wouldn't think they would want something like that. I think they'd want something much nicer than that, but, you know, that's for the developer, but.
Doesn't really go well with the Corbridge name.
Yeah.
Let me address that. This isn't what we would like to do as well. We find the best product that we could, the best look that we could. But when it comes to the cost of all that lineal footage of fencing, it is a question of $40,000. We expect our townhomes to be starting near $500,000, and so affordability is a real question on everybody's mind. And so we certainly would like this to look as good as we can, but when it comes down to the cost of the fence, we have to keep that in mind as well. There's a balance there, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Right, and I'm sure that's what the building materials used and everything in the home, has to be that balance between the quality of your product and what you want, so.
But when you came involved in this project, you knew what was required.
And we're not opposed to doing
okay.
the precast concrete, this is where the argument for the Trex fence comes in, is for the dollar. We can bring a much superior product that looks much better, and in our opinion, I feel bad about the comment about bait and switch, that's not our intention at all, we feel like we were proposing a superior product. So that's kind of where we came from on it.
Okay.
And so I guess my only comment, but I think from what I've seen from the residents is right now there's much more no's in favors of ayes. You know, if the residents wanted more time to talk about it, I would think of continuing it so they could talk about it. But that would be my only possible motive, is to say, you know, if the residents really wanted to do some more exploration. But other than that, I feel we have to go with the majority of the residents. That's my opinion.
I agree with giving it a little bit more time if they wanted to, because there are advantages when it comes from residential to look at a product like this Trex product. You know, I think when it goes from residential to commercial, that's a whole nother animal. And just for my remembrance, Mike, the north boundary, yeah, that north boundary there, where does Lowbook end? Where does commercial end on that north boundary?
Might be better if I go to an aerial photo.
Our section is a very small piece that goes south from that very north corner. Northwest
So
corner.
Yeah,
right in
yeah.
here.
I just have a question for you with Lowbeck Sales. What, is it durability or looks, or what is your reasoning for wanting to stay with the precast fence?
Well, precast fence, in my mind, I've always just had pictured that masonry wall, something like the cinder block. The precast concrete fence, I'm not a fan of. So that's like the least of my favorite choices.
Appearance or what?
Appearance, yeah.
Because you're looking at one that's unpainted?
Yeah.
And do you like the one?
Well, he's saying block.
I know what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But the one around Maverick, do you like that one?
One of those two pictures?
No.
No, I was gonna say, we didn't have a picture of a masonry wall on this.
One around
example.
Maverick looks like stone, stacked stone.
That's still, okay.
It's masonry. I mean, it's concrete.
Like River Rock, I've seen River Rock too, where they painted those different rocks and stuff. But we just thought it would hold up better than the Trex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Callis, can I ask you, because you developed one, is there any help with sound to have a masonry?
Here we go.
The masonry is better sound.
Okay.
Well, when I say masonry, concrete,
Yeah.
we're getting masonry. Masonry and concrete are better sound insulators than Trex.
Okay, I
So,
think what we come down, go
Commissioner,
ahead.
this is this is the 8-foot fence that was put along the trail, is that the Heritage Trail?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Behind
that's-
the office complex, medical office complex. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, typically that's what we were hoping,
Right.
that would have went in
Nice.
behind the Lindon nursery. But, we don't have those standards. We should write those in there, but we don't have them, so.
I guess where I'm coming from is that I feel like that we can't just make a change where we have gone over this over and over again. if the commission wanted to continue it, to give the developer to talk a little more with the residents, are you wanting to do that, or are you wanting to
Well,
just
I have a
decide
motion.
tonight? Okay.
I want us to give a motion to deny the applicant's request for amended site plan approval to install Trex fencing as an alternate material, based on the fact that's the way we've planned it, we've represented it, the residents have heard it, and that's what they're counting on.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion.
Does it give the applicant an opportunity to talk with neighbors, come up with
They can
something we
always
haven't
come
thought
back
about,
again.
and just put it on the agenda again? Which is the
There's
same thing as
pros and cons
continuing
both
it.
ways, but I'm like Rob, I think it should be the neighbor's call, not ours.
Right.
If we're gonna-
So I guess that would be my only question
But the
before.
neighbors also do, I mean, there are commercial neighbors, and
Yeah.
you said the church doesn't care, but, I mean, so, I would want it to be, as the developer, the same fencing all the way around. And so, that's another reason why I'm just stuck on the concrete, because residential, I think you could make a case for the Trex, but commercial to this residential, having that 7-foot wall, the people that are gonna buy those townhomes ultimately are gonna want that 7-foot masonry wall rather than Trex between the commercial and the residential part. So, you know, and they've already got two different types of fencing going in there with the yards of your townhomes being the Trex, which I think would be a nice look, but then you gotta tie those into the concrete. Anyways, the point is, it's gotta look congruous. So,
And I guess my only point was not so much to continue it for the contractor to work with it, but if from talking and seeing if the residents wanted more time to talk about it, that would be my only motion to, my thought of continuance.
the residents, but also the neighbors that might be the
Right.
commercial,
And
interests and.
any
the
neighbors.
And that's why I like Rob's motion, because they can always bring it back if
Is that
they
okay,
get their-
Mike? They can bring it back?
They can, I mean, it's another $600, but they can bring it back.
Spencer, do you have a preference between continuing it and denying it? I mean,
well, Rob's motion is denied.
Now, I've got a motion and I've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay, and what, are you nay?
No, I'll say aye. I don't want to do the bait and switch and stuff, so I feel that they have that opportunity still to work at if they want to.
The motion carries then. And I guess you can bring something back to us if you decide you'd like to. Okay, thank you for coming, and thank all of you residents for being here again. Appreciate you being here. Okay. The next item on our agenda is it's a public hearing, and so we do need a motion to open a public hearing because it's an ordinance change.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Okay, I have a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second that motion?
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. So this is an ordinance amendment for 17.50 mixed commercial and 17.54 regional commercial streetlights. Our presenting staff is Mary Barnes, and the applicant is Lindon City. So if you want to go ahead, Mary?
Yeah, thank you. So, like Sharon said, it's 1750, 1754 specifically, the language in those two chapters about streetlights. So, as you read in your staff reports, there is going to be a new development manual proposed amendment in the coming weeks. So this ordinance amendment is preparing for that and also just simplifying the code, taking out specifications that really should be within the specification manual, not the city code. So with that, we're proposing the following two amendments for 17.50.120 in the mixed commercial zoning ordinance. There's specific language on the height and the illumination of a street light. That's already within the development manual. That type of specification is already in the development manual, and simply referring to the development manual, taking out the specific language in the code and referring to the development manual will not only make it simpler, it will make it so that if we want to change the height, there's only one place where we are changing the height, and that is the development manual. That's just for example. And then the second one is 17.54.040 in the regional commercial zoning ordinance. It also has specific language on the type of street light and the spacing of street lights. Again, all of that information is also in the development manual. So this is simply deferring to the development manual for all streetlight specifications, taking it out of the city code and just making it easier for developers and us to keep track of what we're requiring for streetlights. And I also included some pictures of the current streetlights and then the proposed streetlight, just if you're curious, but that's not what we're really discussing tonight. But any questions on that?
I mean, what it appears is that you're just trying to get it so there's just one standard street light rather than different types. And that would be, in the pictures, the exhibits, that would just be this first one would be the standard street light.
Yeah, so the engineering department has put together a whole presentation about like the cost versus the return time in ordering these and that kind of thing. And I believe that having just this one street light for every part of Lindon City would just help to streamline projects. I mean, streetlights can be months and months of back order and cost, I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars. So having something, I think we're also switching providers.
Yeah, so right now, you know, we require each developer to put in, you know, if you're in a commercial zone, you have one light. If you have a corner parcel, you have to put in a different light. If you have in a residential, you put in a different light. And so we're going to one standard, and then we're going to sign a contract with Rocky Mountain Power that they will do all the installation and maintenance. And so that'll save a lot of money. These posts right here, you know, they're between $10,000 and $14,000 to have one of those per light pole to be put in. So it'll be half or more than half just going to Rocky Mountain Power because they keep this one type in stock. It's you know, in front of Lindon's edge right here, those two little office buildings on Main Street. It'll be very similar to those lights. It's a night-friendly light. You know, everything's pointed downward, so it's dark sky friendly. That's what I meant to say. And so we'll just have one standard throughout the whole city.
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's great.
So my question there is that, so it's gonna refer to the development manual.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
What's the process of the development manual being changed? So in the future, if it wants to be changed, does it come before any bodies, or is it something staff does?
We just recently changed something in the development manual, the easements of public utility easements. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
That
so
was
it
an
does come,
ordinance
it still
amendment.
comes before a public
For
body.
the city council. So we have to, by state law, we have to give a 30-day public notice so developers know what the change is. And then the city council will update any specifications.
So there's notice and public can hear it.
And so this is just a recommendation to the city council.
Right. But I was just wondering what the process was if we're taking hearings out of it by putting it in there, but we're not.
So we've already got a meeting scheduled October 17th with the city council to adopt these new standards. If you go to the state's public notice website, that notice is on there, and I think this is just me going on my soapbox, but to change a whole ordinance, we only have to give a 10-day public notice, but to change a specification, we have to give a 30-day public notice.
That's good. That's,
So if we
Quite makes
change the
sense.
fencing in the ordinance we just talked about, 30-day notice?
No, because that's not a public,
Okay.
specification. It's
Okay.
not a
Oh,
public
okay.
standard.
Okay. Huh. Okay, any other discussion, or should we close the public hearing?
I move we close the public hearing.
I second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And are we ready to go ahead and make a motion?
sure.
Okay,
I move to recommend, to approve ordinance amendment 2022-12-0 as presented.
Could you,
No.
sorry,
We need
so
to
the
recommend.
ordinance number is
Oh.
wrong. This is there was an update. Anyways, 14. Could you-
14?
Yeah.
So, I
move
move
to
to
rec-
recommend
yeah.
to approve ordinance amendment 2022-14-0 as presented.
okay.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. So I guess we're good with that. And as far as planning commissioners, as far as comments you'd like to bring up tonight?
Well, the only comment is, I really think we need to revisit that fencing ordinance. We've got to prevent them from, when I saw them putting that fence up, I thought, those poor residents.
Had any complaints, which is interesting,
Yeah.
from the existing neighborhood. I did text that developer, and he is not painting that fence, the decorative one.
He's just gonna leave it like that?
It'd be interesting to specify what happens on both sides of the fence though, too, because,
You know, if we address the ordinance,
Yeah.
we need to,
We need to address,
They need to look at that.
because they could leave the one side
Yeah.
unpainted and make the townhome side pretty or something like that. And
personally, I think we did the right thing by just denying it.
Yeah, I didn't
To
feel
Jared's point, I mean, it really,
they can, I was waiting, hoping for a resident to say, we want time, and none of them did, so
yeah.
I think
no,
we're,
we did the
I
right
think
thing.
we're fine to deny it.
in some way, we gotta come up with some language that gives a little bit more direction to the kind of product. That,
Or decorative pattern, or,
yeah, something.
yeah.
Well,
And there's even some new, it's Rhino Rock is doing it, and it looks just like.
Yeah,
It
looks like a concrete precast.
looks like a concrete precast,
But it's
but
not,
it's
yeah.
about an inch of concrete on each side, then it's got foam in the middle.
Yeah,
And they're actually gonna do it over here at the Swig, or so, which one is it? Fizz, sorry, I can't get my
on the
drink
west side of
places
State
correct.
Street.
They're actually gonna put it in over there, we're gonna try that, but it'll look just like a normal precast painted,
Probably gets
decorative,
hit, because I've seen that where that foam is exposed because it's
Yeah.
gotten hit or whatever, and
yeah.
Well, and, yeah, when it comes to hitting and running through things, the only thing you might have a chance is the concrete tilled up slab. I mean,
it does create a problem, like this lady was saying, because your back property line, your back post, is not gonna match up, between your house and your neighbor's house, it's not gonna match up with this fence, so not only are you gonna have a gap, but your back post too doesn't come.
yeah. But
So
they
in other words,
gain-
you
they
could go
gain-
from one house to the next house just
but
by going
they-
around that
They gain
post.
property though, and it's the only way to do it. He was dead spot on when
Yeah,
it comes
agreed.
to
It's just
putting
that
it in.
they'll basically end up with a foot more property, they'll have to do something. But if they have a back fence, and I'm trying to think how many of them actually currently have a back fence.
Probably was just wire, most of
When you say wire, you're talking chain link.
No, I think-
Is that what you're
No,
saying?
But there's some,
Field
I think,
fence.
who
horse
have
fence.
put a fence in.
Has anybody
but-
got a vinyl fence that borders any of that?
So I'm trying to think, I don't spend a lot of time in
the
their backyard, so I don't.
All these poplar are there, it's clearly, within that 1 foot that's your property line, and they're going all over and ruining my yard. Who's supposed to maintain that,
Yeah, well, if the kind of masonry wall goes in that we have in our minds, it'd be crazy not to pull your fence down and landscape right up to the concrete.
Yeah, I agree.
Cut off the.
But they still have to
suckers and-
close that gap on that back corner of
Yeah.
their yard. Otherwise, people can go, dogs can go from one yard to the next.
This is a couple different examples down in the, Creekside Cove and Anderson Farms. So they did the rock along the sidewalk. And this has been in for quite a long
Yeah.
time, many years. Ivory Homes, they put concrete in between the posts,
Yeah.
to keep, to make sure that wasn't gonna turn into weeds. And so there's couple different options that we could write into
Yeah,
the ordinance.
And that's the kind of things we need to look at all the details there and
Yeah.
come up with something if it's.
That sure does look a lot different than the samples, of
Yeah, I was
back behind.
was
Lindon Nursery.
disappointing. But
That aggregate wall, I swear I don't know anybody even making it now.
It looks like a 1980s Kmart or
I
something.
I am afraid they took it down somewhere and re-put it up.
Yeah, there's a surplus somewhere that.
Just to do it as cheaply.
No,
as
they found somebody that still makes it.
They did?
Mhm.
Well, so, Mike, would you have to rewrite that ordinance then?
Yeah.
Is that what you'd need to do?
Mhm.
Bring it.
It's the same ordinance that's in our commercial zone. It was just copied over from the general commercial zone to
Yeah.
this one, so we just need to go through and fix it in a couple different areas in our code.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But we couldn't apply it to this
No,
development though.
no.
I would hope, it seems like Sago Homes has, what do you say, has tried very hard to make this a really nice development. I would hope they would also make sure that fencing also looks really attractive.
Yeah.
I think they will, because they'll want their side to look good.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to sell a $500,000 townhome
With an ugly.
that ugly.
Well, and just some of the other things they're doing with the development, I think they will want that fencing to look attractive.
And in fairness, also that, where's our staff report at? Did I get out of it? I mean, they will be having landscaping.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll
without-
have landscaping along there, so,
Yeah, and when they show the Trex fence, that's all beautifully landscaped, and so it does make a big difference as
Yeah.
far as how it will look.
yeah, I mean, they'll have bushes that'll go halfway up this fence.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they've got trees every 30 feet, and so they'll have, that fence will be
It'll look a lot
covered up
different.
at some point, halfway.
We're hoping, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it would be interesting, and you said you had it on your list too, as far as the Norton property change as far as with the commercial requirement.
Yeah, so Amy Johnson last week, she made a presentation to the city council. She has a medical facility, it's a dental school and some different medical groups that want to come in to take all of the commercial along State Street. They need some time to work out their plan and everything. So she brought them in. They really like the property. They're committed to it. The council has asked me to look at that 25% requirement and to write in there that, because right now it says 25%, you have to pull a building permit for 25% of the commercial and commence construction. And so what they want to do is allow the expansion of the low book cells as part of that 25%. So they did allow a commercial use to expand. And so,
We weren't gonna count that.
no, because there's no building permit for low book sales. So,
I think it should count anyway.
so because it's just parking lot
Yeah, I know,
improvements.
but
and-
it's,
and
yeah.
So that's
I'd
how
let
we'll
it
be
count.
changing that. That's what we'll amend in that ordinance to bring back to the council. So you'll see that in 2 weeks.
So I guess the question there, though, if you amended an ordinance, how does it go back? You know, I thought everything with an amended ordinance only goes forward. I guess I'm just trying to clarify, would that then
Yeah.
let them build?
Well, I think you could say, I have not written it yet, so I haven't even sat down to really think about it. But I think, you know, as long as you help facilitate the expansion of a commercial use, is what, some language like that. And I think the council's comfortable saying that is fine.
I guess. what
Again, I'm speaking off
yeah.
the top of my, I
But
haven't even
Do you
thought
see
of
my
it.
point,
Yeah, I
Mike?
see
'Cause
your
I'm
point.
saying, with all other ordinances, right, the applications at the time of, the ordinances at the time of application. So even if we change the ordinance, that would be for future
I would
developments.
think that Haas would tell us to go ahead and change the ordinance, but then have them come in and do an amendment to their approval or something. based
Yeah, I
on
don't
the
think
new
we'll do an
ordinance.
amendment. Brian and I'll work that out. We'll have some language for you in 2 weeks and we can
Yeah.
discuss it
Okay,
further.
that was my only question, because it seems
Yeah,
that we're very strict on other things that we can't change after.
Well, I
An
mean, that's-
ordinance change doesn't change until afterwards,
All
so.
how you write the ordinance. So if it's, you know, has facilitated or will facilitate a future expansion, you know, it's,
Okay.
we'll work on that.
Personally, I think when the development gets further down the road and you start seeing homes and things, the commercial's gonna become more desirable.
Mhm.
yeah, it's kind of a chicken egg thing, isn't it, Rob, that we worry about something that we're really trying to put in the wrong order.
Well, it does seem though, I mean, I listened to most of this presentation from this dental group, and they seem quite committed. And what they're suggesting that they're gonna do seems like it would be a very much an asset to the city.
Does it bring tax dollars? Is it,
Probably not. It's nothing like a low book sales for creating revenue for the city,
No,
but it's a respectable.
isn't that the whole reason for?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Right, that was.
I'm fine with,
It wasn't necessarily sales tax, but it was bringing new business to the community. This is the group Wilson Capital Partners that is looking to buy the property, and then they have a tenant that wants to do this medical facility and dental school, dental hygiene school.
It'd be a good neighbor to the residential that's being built, so.
What type of time frame are they looking at, Mike? Are they saying they don't know? I mean, is it?
No, there were, I don't think they brought that up. I'll check, but I'm not sure they brought that up, but.
One of the things they were saying though is that, you know, if she puts somebody else in there taking, you know, one of the lots, you know, just to get that 25% and the building permit, then it wouldn't leave them a
Yeah,
space to do what they wanna do.
I'm just, I really don't have an opinion either way right now. You know, I'm just trying to,
I sure don't have any problem with
I mean,
giving credit on the low
Yeah.
book stuff.
I mean,
so.
right now, with everything that's going on.
With Brian's help, I'm sure you guys can come up with something.
Yeah.
Then what's going on, you know?
What's that?
Well, just with all the construction, everything on it, might as well get those homes built,
Yep.
I mean, all the Band-Aid being ripped off of it, they're gonna be built, that pain's already been felt, so, you know, for the residents, so, at this point, I mean, they're getting ready to put sewer and everything in down there, and at least that's what it looks like to me, they're getting ready to do sewer and roads, and,
They've actually been delayed because they can't find sewer manholes. That's what they've been delayed on.
It's amazing what the supply chains are.
They're hoping
Yeah.
to be selling by, what'd you say, the end of November? or something like
Yeah,
that.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, just a couple other things coming your way at the next meeting. The Norton property, they've made an application to rezone that for 12,000 square foot lots. What did I say?
Thornton.
Oh, Norton, sorry. Thornton. Sorry, the Thornton property, they made an application. They want to change that to R112. And so they have an application in with us that'll come before you next time. There's a property. Is it on Squawks and Paws?
Yes,
Is it on Main Street?
it's on 200 East in the Hollow.
So right here, there's a property owner that has applied to amend the home occupation ordinance to allow for a animal therapy business, that they would have children that would be able to come and
Children with disabilities
Dis-
able to come and pet animals and.
What's the address there?
Looks like the old joiner place,
it's
isn't it?
Gerald Nebeker, 215 North, 200 East.
And it would all be in his backyard
Oh,
area.
yeah, that's terrible.
Is that the old, what joiner built?
Yeah.
We'll have another massage business coming, possibly. They haven't filed their application yet, but we met with her yesterday. We have an amendment to allow accessory apartments in the front setback on deeper lots. And so some of these, this property here find my bearings real quick. So Jared College that owns this lot, he wants to build his home in the back of the lot, then have a garage with an accessory apartment above it. And that would be in the front setback. And so, there's,
In the front setback, but it's just in the front of the home.
it is in the front setback is what we would consider it.
Oh,
Would it be within the
Well,
30 feet, or would it be
I
just?
see Mary's point, it's behind it's in the buildable space envelope of the lot. Yeah,
But the way we're gonna write it in the ordinance
Yeah.
is the front setback.
yeah.
And so, good. Steve, you had a question?
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. It still have the 30-foot setback, right? I mean, it can't be within that 30-foot
That's
setback,
correct.
but
Yep.
that was my only.
And so we've got that one, and then possibly the one next to you, Commissioner Johnson on State Street, that Colts Neck property. We may have a site plan approval for that one. Trying to get my bearings here.
Clyde's fence property on 400
Yeah.
North.
Well, what are they looking at doing there?
Curb gutter, sidewalk.
Oh, just a site plan?
New landscaping. Mhm.
That'd be great.
Remember
Yes.
we changed the zoning on that property?
We've changed it quite a while ago and was wondering what was gonna happen. I just wonder if he was gonna build or something on it, but it's
No.
just site plan.
It's just site planning stuff. He wants to phase it over a period of time for monetary reasons, and so you would have to give approval for that phasing plan.
Is that just to bring it up to the commercial landscaping standards?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
which, I mean, I think he's using it now for commercial purposes, so.
He's never really stopped using it for.
Well, no,
commercial.
but now he's
Yeah.
officially using
Yeah.
it for commercial purposes. And no, that would be, we would love to have a little more weed control next to our building.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't look very nice.
No, it
And
doesn't.
that's another place on the 400 North. in there.
400 North Corridor's looking bad, isn't it?
Yeah, and then our side yard setbacks that we had discussed, for those that have a side yard setback for less than 10 feet, that may come before you. We still need to review that, so. So that's it. So next meeting could be,
Longer.
I said, Fourth North is a disgrace, and it's the busiest street in the city.
Go ahead, he's talking about 400
oh
North.
no, I'm done.
Okay.
You were gonna send out a link to the required training.
Yeah.
Did I miss that, or did you not?
No, I
send that?
haven't done it, so I apologize.
I mean, I'm really anxious to take a look.
So,
That tomorrow.
Mike, did you want to mention the 700 North developer and or maybe that's preliminary as far as what he brought in and it's.
Yeah, they
not
had, there was a
close.
there was a work meeting last week with the city council.
Right,
I can show you that. Actually, it's on my desktop. But basically, the council told the developer to follow our master plan. There's the backbone of a good project there. There's a hotel, some office buildings, some residential, quite a bit of retail. They don't have any tenants lined up, but it just wasn't organized well on the site. And so the council asked them to follow our master plan and then put something together, and we could do another work meeting with the council. But
Local developer, out-of-town developer?
they're local, but I haven't done any work with them, and I haven't found anybody that has. But I think they do a lot of rehab of shopping centers. They're evergreen development. So they just rehab the old Smiths in Saratoga Springs to a Vasa gym and some other retail uses.
okay. I don't have anything else. Do any of you have anything
don't.
else you want to bring up? Are we ready to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion that we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second. Go ahead, Jared.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, thank you. You could ask Kathy what that lady's name was.
Where's your other commissioners at, lately?
Well, Scott's still on his cross-country 2.5-month trip, I think.
Yeah.